Mike Tomlin just resigned.
Oh, wow.
Ben, our awesome producer, I had to check with him if it was resigned or re-signed because the word is confusing.
Are they spelled the same?
I'm terrible at grammar. For as good as I'm at math, I'm horrible at grammar. So
Resign and resign are so complete opposite that it's an easy, that can make someone have a confusing day.
And now NFL IQ with Cynthia Frelund and Logan Ryan.
welcome to the Divisional Round episode, whatever it is, of NFL IQ. I'm Cynthia Frelund here with, so last week you got to call a piece of history. And Logan Ryan, this week you went back to the home situation, probably the biggest home of all the teams, right? The Patriots. You were on the field. You were getting the crowd all fired up. Tell us everything about Foxborough this past weekend. We want to hear it.
Well, look, this is my favorite time of the year. Like this, we're going to start dropping our best podcasts, so make sure you like and subscribe down below. But this is playoff Logue. This is playoff football time. And you have your combine people. You have your draft guru, Cynthia. I know you do it all. I'm a playoff football snob. Senior Bowl, I can care less. Good luck out there at the Reese's Senior Bowl if it's still Reese's. Could care less. Haven't been in that in a long time. I've been in a lot of playoff games. So I went back to Foxborough where I played a lot of playoff games, probably 4 years. We went to 2 Super Bowls and 2
Where do you
AFC
rank on the tackle list for the playoffs again?
I'm top 5. I mean, I don't know when that was last updated, but everyone above me is retired. So I'm top 5 all time in NFL playoffs. I probably played in 18 playoff games in my career. I've played like almost every year, fortunately, and was winning them. So I got a lot of experience in the playoffs. It's what I know best, it's what I love best. And I played a lot of them, obviously, in Foxborough. And I've never lost a playoff game in Foxborough. And elephant in the room, that was my first time back in New England at a game since I picked off Tom Brady's last pass and getting a win for the Titans in Foxborough. So that was also, coincidentally, the Patriots' first home playoff game since that 2019 game. So when I came back, could have been mixed reviews, could have been some boos, could have been some cheers, but the Pats fans were all cheers. They were joking about the pick. I said, hey, I'm here to clear the hex. We can go back to winning playoff games. Me and Vrabel are back. And the Patriots just did that. I brought Danny Amendola with me, arguably one of the most beautiful men in the world, a walking Ken doll. And he probably got a little more crowd hype than me. But regardless, we hyped that crowd up. I could tell the defense was rocking. And it looked like the defense of the playoffs. They played lights out, one of the best defensive games until the Houston Texans just played a defensive game, which we'll get to. But it was electric. It reminded me of playoff football back in Foxborough when I was there in our run. So I think the Patriots have something that's legit and sustainable. It's a hard place to win right now.
Okay, so before we move on to this next matchup, where did you watch the game? Where were you for the actual game?
I was all over the place, man. I literally was probably pouring out water for the players. I was down the field pregame, dapping up my guy Carlton Davis, seeing some coaches because they have the whole Titans coaching staff, and they have Vrabel's all staff was my coaches in Tennessee, and all the trainers are from New England. So I'm giving out handshakes and high fives and signing babies with Mr. Kraft pregame. So I was down there, and then after I hyped the crowd up, first time out of the game, I went up to a suite. I was in a suite for the game, and then I came down post-game back to the field. So I was a little bit up and down.
Okay.
But the more you can do,
Okay, so from your bird's eye view as we spin this forward, I could tell you what the numbers say, but you were there, you played for this team. So what was the key to this one? Because I could tell you what I saw, but you were there, so we might as well get your take first.
Look, it was the big boys woke up in January, like Mike Vrabel said. He wanted his defensive line to dominate, and we previewed the game. We said that I believe the Chargers are going to have a tough matchup against the Patriots because the Patriots are going to stop the run. They have really good secondary, and they really suffocated Justin Herbert. He's been banged up all year, and the offensive line has been hurt. Not bad, hurt. So that was really it. The Chargers couldn't do anything to sustain enough points, and Drake May didn't play his best game by any means, but he managed it until he had to make the plays he did down the stretch. And all you got to do is play winning football in the playoffs. You don't have to play great football. Every player doesn't need to play great football, They got to play winning football. So I really like that Drake May wasn't forcing too many things. Kind of took it as it went. The Chargers defense played well, but eventually the Patriots wore them down, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. So the third down was interesting, of course. That's kind of that was the key to this one, at least from the numbers standpoint, being able to sustain the drives and then Milton Williams at the end. That was, he was clearly a very high paid acquisition this past offseason. And I think you're expecting in moments like that with that O line that is completely banged up. Um, that was a Milton Williams moment. You're like, worth every penny, and got coach all banged up with this. There was blood. I loved Vrabel with the headbutt at the end. That was just classic. So very, very funny stuff there. I'm curious though, all right, so we know that the Chargers O-line, not a good one. I mean, they allowed their quarterback to be pressured the most. They allowed the most hits. This was not a situation where Justin Herbert had a ton of reasons to succeed. So spinning that forward, the Texans O-line ahead of the season, I gave my mea culpa. I thought they were going to be awful. They ended up being, let's call them like 20th. So definitely better than awful. Not awful, just like almost average, right? So I'm not going to say they're the best O-line in the league. I'm going to say that the strategy with the way CJ Stroud operates behind it, whatever, that has worked well. How do we forecast this forward? Because to me, the Patriots defense seems to have an advantage over a Houston Texan offense that the run game has not been consistent this season. We did see Woody Marks have a good game. We did see Nick Chubb out there, blocking and doing the things that he was being asked. But now there's likely no Nico Collins in this game. Maybe they'll even be down another receiver because of maybe concussions. I don't know how long it takes to clear the protocol. So, they haven't, as of this recording, which is not going to be possible because it just happened last night. So what's the strategy here for Houston and also for the Patriots?
Look, I think we got to call a spade, and because it's the playoffs, and I'm gonna be a lot more direct and blunt about what I see and what I think.
You
And
could always be direct and blunt here. Come
yeah, well, look, this is nut cutting time, and I'll say this: both teams are pretty similar. The defenses are just dominant. They dominated the other side, defensive line, and all that stuff, and then the offense eventually wore them down. Okay, C.J. Stroud was better off taking a knee every single play in the first half, and they would have had a better performance in the first half than what he did out there. You can't they need to sit down with him and have a talk and say, "Listen, we don't have a good defense. We have the best defense probably in the NFL." That looked like a historically good defensive performance. I've been parts of it. I've been parts of number one defenses in the NFL. I've been parts of all type of historic defenses. That looked as good as any defensive game I've seen. When you turn the ball over 3 times at quarterback, that's the only thing you could do to lose the game. That's it. You can literally not throw for a first down. You could take a knee. You just can't give the other team the ball. Punt. Just punt. And when you play with great defenses, I would say obviously the Ravens won a Super Bowl like that. Seattle, right? Obviously LOB. And then I look at Denver when Peyton Manning was there. He was not putting up top numbers, but they had that defense. You got to know how to quarterback with a great defense. And it was kind of what Ryan Tannehill's role was when we were in Tennessee. Give the ball to Derrick Henry, manage the game, find A.J. Brown sometimes, but we don't need you to go out there and Superman this thing because we have the defense and the other guys to keep the game what they need to do. So this game is going to come down to what quarterback do you trust more against a great defense? Do you trust C.J. Stroud, what I just saw, against the Patriots defense? Or do I trust Drake May to go maybe against a better defense, Houston's? It's going to be both. It's going to be hard for both quarterbacks. They're both relatively young quarterbacks. They're both going to need the running game to work to help them out. But I trust Drake May right now to I guess live with what that defense is about to do to you, right? And live to fight another play. A little more mobile than Aaron Rodgers, obviously, has been really good than some of CJ Stroud's decisions. I mean, the muff snaps, the fumbles, obviously the interceptions were really costly. And if they played a better team than the Pittsburgh Steelers, that could have cost him because he didn't have the performance enough to help the Texans win a Super Bowl, because you've got to know how to manage the game when you have a defense that special, in my opinion.
I talked to some people who won't let me say their names, but they're very familiar with CJ Stroud and the situation on that offense and also past iterations of that offense. And part of what the concern about CJ Stroud is, according to them, again, I'm not there, I don't
This
know.
is
And
source. You got sources, anonymous sources.
sources, I
That
hate
is
when
such a
people over.
trigger word for a former player. The anonymous sources.
To me, it's like a conversation. They're not
Yeah.
saying anything, whatever. This is the conversation. And one of the issues that they brought up was that CJ Stroud's been asked to run a Patriots like offense, which is
Mhm.
complex in its nature, and it doesn't suit his style well. Seeing that you're very familiar with a Patriots, like, I don't know if that's someone saying that because perhaps they're Nick Caserio connection, or I'm not entirely sure where that comes from. Again, I asked and it seemed valid enough from how close they are to CJ and whatever, but that's my question. As for, are you seeing him try to operate? So what happened from year 1 to now? And what's the problem? Why doesn't he look like the world beater that he was in his rookie season? And the answer that I was given was that the Patriots style offense is not a good fit for some of the things he likes to do. I mean, how do you feel about that?
Well, let me explain, I guess, to the fan and viewer what a Patriot
Maybe
style
you.
offense
Yes.
is, right?
Yeah.
Because I think I got a little experience and then, like, I wasn't an offensive guy by any means, but seeing it in practice.
Yeah, I was about to say you went up
Mm.
against it every day, so you
Yeah.
absolutely know what it is.
So, for what I believe a Patriot style offense is it is a offense that makes checks and changes to just take what the defense gives you. I think it is extremely patient offense. It is not a playmaking offense with your legs and the big crazy throws and the crazy trick plays. Obviously, they try to flea flicker. There are some famous Patriot trick plays, but a lot of
Everyone
it
needs some trick plays, but,
is
like,
taking
what do you
what the
live on?
defense give you. And when I was watching you on TV the other day,
That's nice.
and I love your coworker Gerald McCoy, he broke something down about Caleb Williams, and he said Caleb Williams needs to be great at the good stuff, right? And what that means is to be a great player, you just got to be good all the time. You don't have to be great all the time. You just have to be good. You have to do the good stuff. Take what the defense get. That's what Tom Brady was so good at. Taking the check down, throwing to his running back. He was like probably the best in the world at. Throwing to Gronk, throwing to Edelman. You're talking about 15-yard throws, 5-yard throws, 10-yard throws. Yes, when you have Randy Moss, you're going to open it up. But not every year you don't have that, right? So finding Christian Kirk in those instances and hitting Christian Kirk and stuff, taking his check downs, understanding where to check the run game. It's playing really patient, honestly. And I just don't know if CJ Stroud's nature is that. I think he wants to do the extraordinary stuff. He wants to do the Mahomes stuff, which Mahomes is so great at that, right? And at times, like, he didn't need to fumble in those instances. Bad snap, okay, go down, take the sack. Bad snap, throw it away. Like, he's trying to pick it up, throw it, then he fumbles. It's like, bro, we don't need you to do all that. Like, it's the play's dead, you know? The play's dead. Take a bad play. Sometimes a bad play is not going to lose you the game. So I feel like he's still trying to figure out, I speak on this podcast quite a bit about, as a player, you gotta take what you did in college, play how they want you to play in the NFL, then start sprinkling your college stuff back in your game. I think Caleb Williams has done a good job of progressing at that. I think CJ Stroud has regressed at that. I think he came out, had a great rookie year, playing how he played in college, trying to do those things, make it about him, and this team is not about CJ Stroud, I'm telling you. The running game got going. That defense is so special. We don't need you to throw for more than 150 yards. We don't. We need you to take care of the ball, no turnovers. And I think he's trying to do too much, and I think that's kind of costing him. He's got to understand that the team is not on his back this year. And maybe his rookie year it was, but it's not. And he's got to take what the defense gives him. Very boring, very meticulous, but I think that's the Patriots style of offense.
Yeah, I mean, what the way that I liken it when I hear a Patriot style offense is, people accuse people being system quarterbacks in a Patriot style offense, and I would argue every quarterback's a system quarterback until they're good enough to be the system and dictate the system. But that's a different story for a different day. But I think ultimately it's kind of the same thing, right? There are three options on a given play. You don't need to force one. Three is fine. like there's options for a reason. It's not options for no reason. And every team needs some trick plays. Every team needs some fourth down, things these days. But what is the majority of the play style? I was trying to do some math on being a little more predictive as opposed to reactive for these games, just because I had jury duty. So we are taping later than normal. So I want to make sure
Your
we're
civic
putting.
duty.
Listen, I'm just such a good citizen. It was interesting, but but ultimately, what I'm looking at is like, what's the number? What do you think the magic number of earned first downs needs to be in this game, given that the defenses are both so significant? And to me, I don't think CJ Stroud can live with any turnovers in this matchup. I think he needs to have like at least 15 first downs and no turnovers. But if he has a turnover, the number then becomes like 7 more earned first downs, which you're probably not going to get. So I was trying to do some forecasting for that, but that offense cannot, there will not be extra time for extra possessions or reliable extra possessions for them to make some sort of comeback or need these things on either side, really. So it's fascinating to me because the way that the Patriots on, red area improvements, we saw that the Chargers I say that with a little hesitation because the Chargers, they had no offensive line to help their quarterback out. But, like you got improvement in the red area has been great over the past few games. Milton Williams being back. Robert Spillane. Can we talk about him for a second? Because that guy is,
Real deal spill. Yeah.
he's so underrated. He's criminally underrated. People do not, he left the Raiders and they can't stop any. Anyways, long story short is I love Robert Spillane. His ability to stop the run is just key. So let's now talk about the other side of this matchup, the offense against that crazy, the Patriots offense against that crazy Texans defense. Drake May, why did he have a bad game? What happened?
I just think the Chargers played well defensively. I think things, first playoff game, and things didn't kind of start fast. Things didn't start well. And I mean, I don't think the Rams started well in their game, or like, it's kind of like how you finish these playoff games. It doesn't even matter how you start in a sense. It's how you kind of keep going and adjusting. It's kind of like a heavyweight fight. Like you might lose the first few rounds, but you're figuring things out. They have a really good coach. They have a really good game plan. So there was nothing in particular. I think he missed some throws here and there, but I think he got better. I think he got it figured out as it went. And we don't look and say, hey, Matt Stafford played a poor game against Carolina. We're like, no, he snatched their hearts out down the stretch, and period. And CJ Stroud got a little better as it went. But I think Drake May got better as the game went. He used his legs a little bit more. But you got to give credit to the Chargers, Derwin James and some of their pieces. The Patriots by no means have the most explosive offensive core. So I don't think they're going to win games by 40 in the playoffs. I really don't. I think they know what they have. They know they got to play great defense. They know you got to wear you out. And I think they'll try to beat you by 4 points or 7 points in the fourth quarter off of execution. And I think that's the type of game they played. They only gave 3 points. So you only needed 16 or whatever on offense.
They didn't even need 16. That's some surplus points there. I mean,
Right, exactly. So it's like, I think he got better as it went. It statistically wasn't like all world, but I think a lot of quarterbacks kind of were like that in the first round.
right. I mean, the Patriots this season were the highest scoring first half team until this playoff game. So the Chargers though had a really good pass defense on the back end. So it just was kind of a perfect storm of turnovers and weird pictures ahead of the time. I mean, when you try to figure out which quarterbacks this season have been great at, the picture looks like this ahead of time and then pre-snap, and then once it's snapped it looks different. It'd be hard to argue that Drake May isn't number 2, top 3 worst, meaning the best. He's no worse than top 3 at adjusting to when the picture changes. So, anyways, that was interesting as well. So, when I'm looking at that offense and I'm looking at the defense, it's a tough defense. And if that defense plays like they did against the Steelers, it's going to be tough sledding. I have to say, I'm a big, Sheldon Rankins fan. I know this sounds ridiculous, but this poor kid. So he, drafted by the Saints in the first round from Louisville, has one Achilles, I believe 2 Achilles. He's been nothing but banged up. And last season he had like a internal organ issue with the Bengals and was in the hospital. Like just bad stuff. And he keeps overcoming it. And I love a big man pick six in the middle against, and it's not Will Anderson or Danielle Hunter. We hear about, or Aziz, anyways, long story short is I'm very happy for people who keep battling through adversity to have some success. Like, how cool is that? You
Yeah.
have a playoff pick six. It's pretty cool after battling all of these different injuries for so long. So I don't know. I was really impressed with that, along with obviously, Aziz Al-Shaair is pretty darn good. He's gonna be important in this one, etc. And if
No,
to
it's
me,
gonna be tough. Listen, Jalen Petrie is out there like a
I never want to be
homing
hit
miss.
by him. He's not a big person, but I never want him
I
to hit
I
me,
saw
ever.
him his rookie year and being like, "Yo, this kid's might be the future of the league." Like he's gotta talk to his agent about getting a new contract. I know he just signed one, but he's severely underpaid with how good he is, and the corners are lights out. Look, I'm a Patriots guy. You're gonna have to figure out how to protect Drake May. Period. You got to be able to block those edge rushers, Danielle Hunter, Will Anderson. Have to have a plan. Have to have a plan because Drake May is not gonna have time. The Patriots don't have the receivers to create a ton of separation early. So you have to have a better plan. I wouldn't be surprised if Josh McDaniels come out some empty formations, spread the ball around, quick screens. But that's what the Texans just come out downhill and just annihilate. So they got to do something different because the Texans defense is good enough to carry them
Mhm.
this year to the AFC Championship.
So
Just straight up carry them.
breaking news right here on the pod. Mike Tomlin just resigned.
Oh, wow.
Step down. And now here's the question. Does he go to CBS and hang out with you? Because that would be awesome. But no, I didn't mean to interrupt you there,
No,
Ben,
that's
our
that.
awesome producer. I had to check with him if it was resigned or re-signed because the word is confusing. So, and it's
Yeah.
step
Are they
down.
spelled the same?
Yeah, I think they are, or at least I'm terrible at grammar. For as good as I'm at math, I'm horrible at grammar. So, yeah, Mike Tomlin. What? Wow. Yeah, the hyphen is the
There's a
difference.
hyphen. Yes, there is a. Okay.
Hyphen. But I just wanted to double. I feel like it's always worth the double check.
I
You
feel like
know?
we should change the letters in those words. Even
Yeah.
I think resign and resign are so complete opposite that it's an easy that can make someone have a confusing day,
Well, that's why I
So
just wanted to make sure. I double
yeah,
checked it with him. But okay, Mike Tomlin. Okay, now we've got the AFC North. Really, who would have thought that Zach Taylor was the only guy that would return?
I know that was like the toughest division in football. Look, I've said this,
Decades
and
only choice is
it's not
coming
going to
back.
happen. But you know who should go to the Ravens? It should be Mike Tomlin. Mike Tomlin should be the coach of the Ravens. He could handle it so well over there, and I'm not saying he's going to do that. Um,
I think the
but
world would spin the other way if
yeah,
that
I
happened.
know. But he would be such a good fit in the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. He's dealt with super talented players, getting the most out of him his entire career. He's a people person. I'm like, he would be perfect in Baltimore. Probably not going to happen for a lot of reasons. I don't know. Mike Tomlin will be hired in a day. He'll be
Oh,
hired in a
where does
day.
that job rank?
I mean, jobs might be firing their coaches now to go get Mike Tomlin. So this is if you would
Do
have
you
asked
think
me,
do you
we're
think the
gonna have
Steelers are
9.
or do you think that the Packers are like, "Oh, shoot, maybe we should let LaFleur go now?" Because I'm not saying whatever, but I'm just so
I like LaFleur in Green Bay. Honestly, I do. I think
but
with Jordan Love,
I
the
think I do
development of
too,
Jordan
but
Love.
I'm just talking about, like,
Yeah.
they for whatever reason, they seem unsure. Like, it's not me reporting the news, it's the new I don't know.
Yeah, no, it's look, that's crazy.
We're at
Congrat
8. 8 new 1/4, 25% of the league is getting a new coach.
That's there's no other sport, there's no other industry like this, you know?
Where does
I don't
that
even
job
know.
rank?
Where's that job rank?
Yeah.
It's up there with Baltimore, I would think, in New York. Giants, right? Definitely top 3, probably top
You don't have
2.
a quarterback though, right?
You don't have a quarterback, that's the thing, and
And you're picking kinda late now because you
you
made the
gotta
point
decide
up.
about Aaron Rodgers or a draft. You don't really have a great draft pick. It's not probably a great quarterback draft, I don't know.
Oh, we'll talk about that
I'm a
quarterback
playoff
draft later.
pundit, not a draft pundit. But, yeah, you don't know about the quarterback situation, but you have a great organization, great fan base, a lot of Hall of Fame great players in that organization under contract, so it just there's a lot
I'm gonna
worse.
start a campaign that you need to go run a team. We need you need to be a GM somewhere, or like what's the Matt Ryan title, like president of?
President.
I think
Look,
he's like
I literally just had to go back to New England and find a home. Like I just was trying to find a quick meal real quick. I was homeless for a little bit. So I had to go back and make amends just to find a home real quick. I'm still riding my Niners. Bang, bang, Niner gang. Told you they're going to beat the Eagles.
you nailed
So
it. We got to get to that in a minute, but
they got that done. The Bucks had decisions about Bowles. I'm happy they stay with my man Bowles. The Giants, me and the GM don't see eye to eye, it seems like. And then I'm back with the Patriots. And then the Titans got some decisions to make. I don't know if they need me in the coaching search. They're probably going to go Kansas City in that one. So, yeah, man, I'm
You
just
think
trying to
so?
find a home first.
You think so? You think Kansas City for the Titans,
That's what
as
my
in Matt
sources that's what
Nagy,
my sources tell me, I
as
don't.
in Matt Nagy?
Yeah, look, I don't have I'm gonna tell you my sources are just players. I don't even
Yep.
know who else. I don't know the scouts well enough, and trainers don't. I just talk to just players, and a lot of times we don't know what's going on this time of year. We're just trying to worry about our own job safety.
Right.
So, my
I got one for
source.
you too. It's not that exciting, but when my sources say Nate Shieldhouse goes to Tampa as the OC.
Okay, I like
So
that.
there we go. I don't know. Yeah, he's
Now
cool.
my source was a realtor in Tennessee, was like, "Nah, we're gonna go with the Kansas City guy." So I'm like, "Okay, Kansas City or, Tennessee people say they want a Kansas City it's gonna be a Kansas City guy?" So everybody wants Harbaugh, I don't mean you're gonna get him. Look, I think they should go to offensive coach for, a different voice for Cam Ward, and they gotta develop Cam Ward. So,
I like him
if
more.
they wanna
Yeah.
go with Kansas City trees, because the GM's from Kansas City and a Spagnuolo or Nagy, and Nagy's coach offense, I've learned from the Schottenheimer situation not to judge a coach right when they're hired. How do I know? I got on CBS, I was like, "I don't know about this guy, da 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 da," and I was speaking on this man, I've never seen him a head coach before, and, just 'cause the name I just didn't know his experience, so I was like, "Oh, he's not gonna be good," and I think he did good for, enough, for what they did, so I'm not gonna judge, a coach in a situation till I see him coach a little bit.
I mean, Matt Nagy did win Coach of the Year with the Bears. So, like he's a really nice guy. I know Nagy well. He's super nice. But I don't know what he's like in an install, but as far as like a interview goes, he's a great interview. So, okay, who wins? Texans or Patriots?
This is gonna be a bloodbath, but I gotta trust that Drake May, the MVP, is going to have to make a few more plays than Stroud will make just based on what I seen last week. So, bloodbath, though. Houston's the best defense in the NFL. I think the Patriots find a way to get it done.
Yeah, I do too. I think it's a close game, and I think Houston narrowly. I mean, especially if they're without Nico Collins, especially if they're down two wide receivers, I just don't think Dalton Schultz and Christian Kirk will be enough to overcome. Maybe Jaden Higgins, whatever, like will be enough to overcome the Patriots defense, which is also very good. So that's what I have known. Okay, let's stick in the AFC and talk about the Bills at the Broncos. Remember last year in Buffalo. Not a great outcome for the Broncos. It felt like kind of a cluster. Anyways, fast forward to this season, the game is at Mile High. The Bills, confusing. I don't know what I'm looking at sometimes with them. That was a hard fought game against Jacksonville. At one point, I thought that Josh Allen was going to die. Actually, at 2 points. Once I thought his head was going to die, and then the other time his leg. So Josh Allen alive, which is great. Wins his first road. I hate when people talk about, oh, he's never won on the road in the playoff. It was 3 times an era. It's only 4 games total. It's such a small sample size. So he got that, stigma off of him. Now he heads to Mile High. And that defense, also pretty punishing, the Broncos. What do you see happening in this one? What's the key to it? Is there like something you're looking for specifically?
This is when my rest versus rust debate comes through. And this is when I said I don't want some teams having a number 1 seed, and I didn't want my Patriots to have it. So, Denver got it. Good for them. But maybe Bo Nix comes out a little rusty, and maybe that defense comes out a little rusty, and Josh Allen, who had to put his cape on to go win the 4th quarter. By the way, in Jacksonville, it was warm, hot. Buffalo's a cold weather team. That is hard to go play in the warm weather this time of year. It's why New England always loses to Miami either the first game or the last game of the year. It's just really hard to go in that weather and play your best, and it's very hard for Miami to play anywhere outside of Miami in the playoffs. We obviously seen that for years. So I think that had to do something with it, because unless you've played in it or understand that, you don't the weather, we just kinda like, it doesn't really come up unless there's crazy wind or some history or behind the weather. Uh, so I think it's gonna be much easier for Buffalo to feel acclimated to the weather, and I think Josh Allen's cape is out, and he played phenomenal last week. Played within his You're talking about checking it down and taking what defense gave him. He played really well with what they asked him to do. And Jacksonville's a really good team too. Credit to them. They're a really good team. So I believe that Josh Allen is enough and James Cook, and I think the Bills as a whole play better, and I think they handled Denver a little easier than they handled Jacksonville. That's what Imma say. I think Josh Allen handles them. Now that's not I don't know if that's 2-score win or anything, but I think they start fast and they continue to go
Right, the way it
throughout. I think
feels.
Buffalo gets it
Right.
done.
Yeah. So the interesting part about this one for me is I'm looking at, Ed Oliver was cleared to return, which to me, but who actually is on the field for Buffalo is really going to determine the outcome. I actually think this one's very, very close. If Ed Oliver's okay, then that's huge because the defense against the run, the way that Denver has used, like, I don't know if they did they use up their allotment of screen passes for the year? Because I've never seen a team like that. Talking about taking what a defense gives you, Bo Nix, that's like all he did all season long. So
Yeah.
my concern is that the things that the matchup isn't great, meaning Bo Nix and the run game with that O-line, they have a very good O-line as well. I don't think Bo Nix is going to try to play hero ball. Bo Nix does not take sacks. Bo Nix does John. So Sean Payton was like, "Do not get sacked. That's all I care about." That is what he says. He's like, ahead of the season when I did preseason with them, he said, "As long as Bo Nix doesn't take sacks unnecessarily, we will win the Super Bowl." That is,
Mm,
and everyone he was like,
flip it.
"Oh, I'm they did." I mean, this Sean Payton, of course, they clipped it. It was everywhere. We kind of had to address it in like this preseason broadcast, but it's super awkward because you're like, yeah, I mean, because you're doing it for the Broncos, so you're pro Broncos on these preseason broadcasts. But that's what he said, and you're like, didn't want to jinx it and whatever. Like you're kind of like, okay. So I'm I think matchups make for fights, and this is where I'm worried about the matchup for Buffalo side of it, 'cause I don't know, I just want someone different to be in the Super Bowl, and obviously, the Bills will be different. Either the Bills or the Broncos are different.
Super
Broncos
different.
haven't been there in 10 years, so, I'm just,
Let me
I
ask you this though, Cynthia.
yeah,
You said it's gonna be a close game.
yep.
So if it's a one-score game down the stretch,
Who do
are
I
you
trust more?
saying
Josh Allen.
are you saying Josh Allen's not gonna get it done or Bo Nix is gonna get the ball like, you think in a one-score game that I don't think the only one-score game Josh Allen's ever lost is because his defense lost it because he scored with too much time left with 18 seconds for Mahomes left, but he still ended the game on the bench with the lead. His defense then gave it up to Mahomes. Like, he always finds ways to win in one-score games because he's probably the best quarterback on the planet. So, what is your thought? How does Denver win a close game?
I'm not saying Bo Nix beats Josh Allen. I'm saying that the way the possessions go and the fact that if you can adequately run the ball or use screen passes, I know that Jacksonville was able to do that at certain points. Some things happened with the game script and the way that they were playing, and it just was different. Jacksonville's a good team. They're just not quite there yet, in my opinion, from a what does coach want to do at the end of the game that Trevor wants to do reliably. He's had up and down season in terms of catching passes. So what are and I think Bo does exactly what Sean says. I don't
And
think Bo's trying to play out of structure. I don't think Bo's trying to be a hero. I think Bo is like, Sean says this is what I'm gonna do. So I just think that I don't think it'll be Josh Allen. I think it'll be one of the it is I think it's gonna be a low scoring game where field goals and small things matter and like who has the time of possession with this run defense and the Broncos their run defense is kind of sneaky good. And sneaky
oh, he
good
had a
because you
great
think about them as being the number one sack team in the league, which they are by like 11 sacks in the regular season. You think about them as having a really high pressure rate. You think about them as having a really high pressure rate without getting an extra rusher involved. So no blitzing. So they can drop more guys back into coverage. You think about your guy, Talanoa Hufanga. Like that guy's been a huge difference maker this season. Pat Surtain, s- was injured. He really looks like Pat Surtain now. Like, sure, Riley Moss has been he's good for at least 1 DPI per game because he's targeted so often. So sure, but those are all things that are kind of known. And I know Vance Joseph has been interviewing. That's my question for you. Did you have coaches that were interviewing, and when they went to interview, did it mess things up? Did you feel less?
Well, I was on the Patriots, so every coach was interviewing, from Patricia to McDaniels, Flores, they all interviewed. And I think this process is so foolish. Like,
If they
yes,
already know who they want.
well, I mean, why do it now? Why don't you just do all the process after the season ends? Like, how does a coach go coach, potentially the biggest game of their career, the biggest game of the season, undoubtedly, and then have to go interview for the biggest interview of their lives?
Yeah.
Like, it's not fair to the coach. It's not fair to the players. It's not fair to anyone else involved. Why this coaching process has to start now for rebuilding teams while the best coaches are currently coaching to try to get Super Bowls in cities that have never won them. It's the timing
It's
makes
weird.
zero sense. So again, when you have that bye week and your coach they go do it on the bye week, right? So Vance Joseph or whatever, I don't want to speak for him, but in the past, we would have a first round bye, and then all our coaches would go interview for different jobs down that bye. Then they'll come back and like, all right, let's go. We're back to it. And then we're losing by 14 twice to the
Yep.
Baltimore Ravens in the divisional.
Yep.
And we had Tom Brady at quarterback to dig us out those holes,
Right.
right? If the Bills go up 14 on to the Broncos, I like Bo Nix, I like Sean Payton, but they
Yep.
have Josh Allen on the other side.
Yeah, no, you're not they can't dig themselves out of a hole.
Right. So that is when I say the rest versus rust. Sometimes you can come out rusty when you have Tom Brady. We
Yeah.
did that all the time. He'll come back and get us. But the Bills might be able to do that when they have Josh Allen. I don't know if the Broncos can afford to do that when you're going against Josh Allen. Mahomes can do that. How many times have the Chiefs come out losing by 30 to the Texans, and then Mahomes does what in the second half? Wakes up, wins the game.
Yeah.
Well, now Mahomes or Josh Allen or Brady's on the other side. So you can't come out trailing to him. So that is why I have the Bills winning from my experience of trailing in these divisional games,
Yeah.
quite often.
I'm not gonna say I feel good about it. I'm just gonna say what the math does. I'm
Yeah,
not
yeah,
gonna
you know,
I
right?
feel great about picking Denver in this one because I don't. Absolutely not. Do I want to ever pick it? I never wanted to pick against Tom Brady. I don't want to pick against Josh Allen. Are you kidding me? So absolutely not. I'm not. I'm just saying that from the math standpoint, the fact that the Bills have a very good pass defense, number one in the regular season in terms of yards given up per game, that's a huge deal. The fact that my question is, I don't know what's going on with some of their receivers, and they've had a bunch of injury. I don't. Again, the injury thing will always be a thing that's for every single team, but I have a good sense of who's playing for the Broncos, and that's like basically everyone. So that also is an advantage for them. So I again don't feel good about it, but that's it. So let's flip it over to the NFC side of things. And before we get to the three match, we should do the Rams and the Bears first, just because if you're going to match up 3 times and it's San Francisco, that's what we should end on. So let's start with the Rams and the Bears. So the Rams have to go to Chicago. I hope everyone in that city is okay. I used to live there. That's where I went to grad school, and they party hard there. So I can imagine that last game against the Packers. Like I'm sure there's still people who are still hungover from that. So pickle juice for them. And ultimately, what did you see in that matchup, and kind of how do you spin that forward? Beating the Packers, now you have to face
Oh,
the
man.
Rams.
Welcome to the gauntlet of trying to win a Super Bowl, right? And what an exciting time for Chicago, though. Like, that was electric.
I just hope nothing burned out. Like they have fun there. They get after it,
Yeah,
They
yeah,
really
they
get
need I
after
mean,
it.
listen, I hope they still know how to light stuff on fire. It's been a while, It's been a while since they've had to even light it up and grease the poles and all that. Philly, they greasing the poles every year. So it's just that was super exciting, super electric. And Caleb Williams, man, like, credit to you, brother. Like, I don't care if you paint your nails. I don't care what you got going on. you're making plays like that on 4th down and in general, just in general, like he's being himself and you see those moments of brilliance, you see those moments of genius, and Ben Johnson's got this attitude, right, this belief on the team.
I love
Like,
the
we're
handshake.
Chicago, like, we can beat anybody, like, they have that. That reminds me of what Vrabel kinda had going for us in Tennessee, and it's gonna be a tough team to beat because they're never down in their mind. They're never down, they're never out. But then you're going against a bad man on the other side that is snatching people's souls in Matt Stafford. So, I think the Rams have another level in them that they didn't need to go into, but if you saw that Rams-Panthers game in the 4th quarter when it got serious and the Panthers went up, I mean, the Rams went down so quickly and meticulously and easily, scored, I mean, a beautiful back shoulder ball down the wheel route, and then I don't think the Panthers completed a pass in their 2-minute comeback. Like, it was a vast difference of, like, the real ones versus the happy to be theirs. So I think the Bears are much more happy to be there, but you gotta understand that man on the other side, number 9, Matt Stafford, is a bad man. He's thrown to 2 bad receivers.
Yep.
Bad isn't good.
Right, of course.
So, it's gonna be a lot for the Bears. I have the Rams taking it, but it's gonna be electric in Chicago, though. And
Oh,
that cold weather is gonna play a little bit of a thing on LA, but it's gonna be
oh,
electric.
for sure. So this one's interesting to me because this one's my most sure pick of the week. It's the Rams. For a couple reasons. My model doesn't like a quarterback who can't complete half of his passes. And it's so crazy that there are now 10 games this season that Caleb Williams has won, having a sub 58% completion percentage. That is bananas. It is the lowest number by any qualified quarterback this season in terms of his season long completion percentage. This is an improbable team. So it's true because number one, you want to have I don't I'm looking back for some comps historically. I don't think anyone's won the Super Bowl that I can find with these types of discrepancies. Now, it helps when your defense is turning the ball over a ton, and that would be their formula for upsetting the Rams because if Matthew Stafford doesn't turn the ball over, which he has not done, he's had multiple in the losses that he had this season, but when they're not turning the ball over and they can run well, it's just it's not gonna happen. And between Matthew Stafford, what he can do against all the scenarios, they might bring him blitz. How many people do you want to rush him? Fine, doesn't really matter. They can run the football, which is something the Bears, by the way, don't get. Their pass rush is bottom of the league, not 32, but 28, and that's not going to help. Then you factor in that Puka Nacua, that guy is just not running human routes, and they're want to play zone, and you're going to give him some zone.
Well, he's made of vibranium. I gotta say this. Like,
I,
listen, his skeleton system is different than other people.
I think
And
that's true. I don't think I'm the same as Myles Garrett either. I sit next to Myles Garrett like we are not the same species. We are
no,
not.
yeah, he's genetically, but
Right.
my name's Logan, right? So the only Logan I knew growing up, it's a common name now for white boys and white kids, but growing up, it was just me and Wolverine. That's all I
Perfect.
knew
That's
was
a good
Wolverine.
comp.
Right. And I had this durability thing about me, much stronger than my weight, and I would tackle some people much bigger. I had a lot of playoff tackles like we talked about. Then I ran into Puka Nacua one day, and I realized that there's more vibranium in the world than I had.
Yep.
And I realized this man runs through people's faces, and it's hard. It was like 2 forces going at it, and I was falling backwards sometimes. I'm like, "Who is this guy?" It was his rookie year, and he obviously broke a record that year. But he's just so damn strong.
Right.
His hands, and watch how he finishes runs usually through people's faces,
Mm-hmm.
but, that's his special talent is crazy strength, crazy bone density or something.
I also think that now that Devontae Adams is back, the chemistry yips or whatever happens when you are gone for 4 weeks and then you return, I think those are done. So
Yep.
now you're facing full force Devontae Adams as opposed to, you know, getting back into the swing of things at post hamstring injury. Devontae Adams, he knows his speeds can now be adjusted. Matthew Stafford's learning curve, of course, I mean, even faster than anyone else just because he has so much experience. So this one's to me, sorry, Bears fans, this is just the one that comes out. The other games are forecast to be closer for me. This one is the most certain win for the Rams.
I'm going with the Rams too. I think it'll be closer though. I think the Rams do have some specialness and some belief to it. And Ben Johnson's such a good coach. I don't think it'll be a rout by any means. But I do feel like, and I've been on the Rams for a while in this podcast. I think the Rams are going to be getting rolling here.
So to me, the last note on this, I love Ben Johnson's personality coming out and all this stuff, but I'm going to tell you, I figured out that Sean McVay was a total real one when he duped all of the media. I wasn't there, so I wouldn't have let him get away with this. But he did his whole press conference just naming Bears defenders the last time they played. He was like, and then there's this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and everyone ate it up. He's like, he knows their whole team. I was like, Ben Johnson's a genius, or excuse me, Sean McVay's a genius because he like the requirements like yes, be there for 15 minutes. He spent the whole time just naming defenders. He didn't have to say a thing. It was a masterclass in manipulation. It was good.
Those two are as good as it gets at handling press conferences and motivating their teams. So it's going to be electric in Chicago. Biggest game in a long, long time.
By the way, the Colson Loveland emergence, the fact that he was like the number one target, that is something that will be interesting against the Rams, because the Rams defense, if Chicago's to upset the Rams, it will be turnovers and of Matthew Stafford and also Colson Loveland outmatching, because there are ways to beat the Rams secondary. We saw it,
So they gave up some points to Carolina.
Absolutely. And
Plenty.
if Colson Loveland can kind of keep doing what he did in that last game, I think that will be one of the ways to do it. Anyway, so we can move on from that one. Now on to the should this be like our bowl? Because like
I know, man. I was passionate that my Niners were going to beat the Eagles. I told you they had a Jalen Hurts game plan. I said they had a Jalen Hurts game plan.
What is it?
Okay, well, in my opinion, for what I've seen, is if Jalen Hurts' first read's not open, then he will just don't rush him, essentially. Stay in the B gaps. If his first read's not open, he's just going to try to scramble and escape. But he hasn't been running as much this year. He hasn't been using his legs. He's probably needed to more. So, but I know it's like they don't need a dominant pass rush. They need a solid pass rush, a wall, because he's kind of one read outside the numbers, and then he's gone, right? And I'm not saying he played like that this year, but regardless, what they played offensively for the Eagles wasn't good enough, obviously.
Yep.
And the Niners beat him with a bunch of backups on defense. So I couldn't imagine if Fred Warner played. Couldn't imagine if Bosa played, what that game would have looked like.
Even D. Winters,
right? But regardless, with a bunch of backups, scheme and coaching alone, they beat the Eagles because we talked about how poor the coaching was on the Eagles.
Right.
And that played out. And we know it's about, I always say it's 12 on 12, not 11 on 11. It's playoff football now. So now that coaching, you got to really be in your bag. If you haven't been in your bag, that's going to be a problem.
I think it's like 14 on 14, because I do think the coordinators matter. Because I will say,
Well, when I say 12, I mean like the play caller. Yeah, I don't care the head coaches. Who's calling that play? Who's calling that? You can have scouts in the building. You can have assistant, blah, 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 blah. Look, who's calling the plays for the team and what players are running the plays? That's the biggest indication for wins and losses. I couldn't even tell you who the assistant executive so-and-so for the Patriots was. It was Tom Brady throwing the ball to Edelman and McDaniels calling the plays, or Tom calling the plays.
right.
And defensively, it was Bill Belichick
Right.
telling us or Matt Patricia what to do, and we did it. Like, that's it. The other people in the organization is deep and everyone gets on the plane. They're just there to watch. They're there to watch it get done. So from my experience of what I've seen in these organizations, and I know there's a lot of titles and a lot of roles and people find this person, but it really comes down to, if you give me a bad play, I can't look good, because there's routes, there's plays that can beat our plays. There are plays, every defense has a beater. So if you keep putting us in the wrong defense, we cannot physically even cover the play design. So play design is so important. And we got some good ones coming up in this game. The Niners clearly have arguably the best coach in Kyle Shanahan with his play design.
Great interview. Great press conferences too.
Right. And then Mike McDonald and the Seahawks with that defense is and Shanahan just had to go against Vic Fangio with double reverse passes and find a way to still get Christian touchdowns. Even though everyone in the stadium knows that 23 is going to get the touchdowns, he's still finding unique ways. But the Kittle injury. The Kittle injury. Now I'm just like, how much can we take? How much can we truly take? I do think the Seahawks will be rusty. Sam Darnold, I know Sam personally. It just, there's that feeling of, is he going to lead them? But I think the Niners are just so banged up, though. I'm really concerned.
We keep saying, what's the tipping point? I mean, it's hard because I had the Eagles winning this one, but only by 1 point. I had the Eagles not covering the spread. Let's put it that way. So, because it turned out to be a 6-point spread, which made me think maybe Trent Williams wasn't playing, but Trent Williams did play. Anyways, so I think it'll be closer than the Seahawks fans will want it to be, especially given that the last one didn't end up with a close game and people kind of fast forward that. And that's not the case. I just think without George Kittle, if Ricky Pierce saw those in play too, we're just at this. I don't know where the tipping point is, but I feel like without George Kittle, perhaps you've reached it. I don't know.
He's such a George and Christian are the two, and Trent, but George and Christian are the two irreplaceable players on the offense. You can find some other people to get to certain spots. The Niners receivers look just fine with whoever they got out there, but Kittle and Christian are the unicorns in the offense of blocking versatility, route running versatility, ball carrying versatility, right? And those are the chess pieces that Kyle moves around the board. So without either of them out there, with just Christian's the king, queen, whatever. You're the chess expert. What's the highest piece? The king?
Queen. Well, the
Queen.
king is like
Yeah, Queen's
the
Gambit.
queen can move around everywhere.
Right. Okay. So Kittle's the king, Christian's the queen. You got to protect them. And Christian out there, you got no shot. But with George is a moving piece. And without him out there, I think it's too much to overcome, truly. And I think the Niners will play great. I think they'll play lights out. Listen, the power plant theory, the electric, magnetic power plant across the street. Look into it. I've been saying this for about a year. I've heard the guys talk about this, and now I'm truly believing it. Look into it. Get some of your smart
what it is.
get some of your smart friends on here about why we're practicing across from a power plant. But there's no way, because I will say this: Niners as first class I've ever been in an organization, and the Giants are first class, and the Patriots are first class. But the Niners diet, meal, strength coaches. You know how much money Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, Fred Warner put in their body, Bosa? You know how much money they spend on recovery? How many times a week they lift? Everyone to get banged up every year, the data, it has to be a real thing, because nobody in the league is beating them, and how Jed York puts money into that organization in terms of what you can control.
Right.
They're top notch. I was a part of it, top notch with the body care. It has to be something to it, because the injuries are unprecedented, and now I'm truly believing it.
Well, good thing you got out of there before you fell victim to the power plant theory. Look, the rest versus rust thing and the, Robert Saleh interviewing. Obviously, I mean, Clint Kubiak had some interviews. I don't know if his were in person or just on Zoom, perhaps a little easier if they're only on Zoom. I'm not sure where the location-wise they were. But, the Seahawks coming off of resting, do you think that should the Seahawks win this game, does that, and then now they're not rusty anymore, does that give them a leg up against either the Bears or the Rams, whoever they might, does that help now they had this get back into it situation, or no?
Well, yeah, they got to win this one, right? And then
Of course
they're
they
good.
I'm just saying, fast forward it,
Yeah. You're good after this one. I think this is hard, but the fact this is a divisional team, you know them. You know what the Niners are on, right? I knew the Eagles wouldn't know what the Niners were on. They don't play all the time, right? But these guys play all the time. So it's like they know what the Niners are on a little bit. They won't be as shocked. They won't be surprised when the game's tight or whatever. Like the Eagles, I just feel like they don't really know what the Niners are on. So that's why I'm like, man, it's gonna be tough to shock and surprise the team that's rusty and all that stuff. So I just think that I think Seattle's gonna win the game because of Kittle. If Kittle played this game, I would have picked the Niners. I would have still rode it, and I would have felt good about it. and the Niners win. I don't want to eat my words by any means, but I do feel like eventually it has to break. The dam has to break, and they're giving a lot. They are absolutely, and if they win this game with Kyle Shanahan not have Kittle, as well as Bosa, as well as Warner, as well as the other 3 starting linebackers and Ayuk, he needs to get a permanent lifetime contract with the Niners.
I mean, I would actually
Unlimited
think
lifetime.
maybe it would be possible for him to coach 2 teams. He could go coach the Steelers and the Niners at the same
Unlimited,
time, you know?
un like a gym membership, unlimited. I'm talking about Russell Wilson unlimited. Like, he needs just a lifetime deal because he is the truth, and he's clearly showing that,
Yeah,
and he'll have some plays drawn up for the Seahawks. They'll be better. They'll score more points than they
100%.
did the last week or whatever, a few
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with and plus Trent Williams will be back, which is in and of itself just a huge win for the Niners. So Trent Williams wasn't playing in that last matchup, which was uh, a big benefit to the pressure to the pass rush for the Seahawks. But I have the Seahawks winning this one too. Obviously, my model loves the Seahawks. So but I didn't run it with Kittle playing. I could go back and like go do a theoretical sample, but it's already close. So I'm not sure. Again, this is a close one. I don't think this is by any means an easy one for Seattle at all. Not even a little bit. Much easier for, according to my model, for the Rams against the Bears. So, all right, predictions time. Let's do one that we can pay off this week. So, unless you have unless we have more like inside sources with coaches, but what, what do you
Well,
got?
let me think about it. You go first. Let me really ponder I want a good prediction here. I want you
Okay.
to go first if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So I think that in the matchup between the Texans and the Patriots, that I am whatever, go big or go home, right? I actually think that the tight ends will have big roles for both sides. So Hunter Henry for the Pats, a number of very important, crucial third down conversions, and the same thing, Dalton Schultz for the Texans. I think that's going to be something where the tight ends are a really big factor in these games. Maybe the leading receivers for their team, or maybe by receptions or red area something. So I think the tight ends will play a big role.
Yeah, you know what? I'm gonna go with the Superman. I'm gonna go with Josh Allen. And I'm gonna say Josh Allen beats by Denver by over a touchdown. Honestly,
Okay,
I think that one is gonna be a big shocker to a lot of people's models, and there's a lot of things that say that shouldn't be the case, but I got the Bills and Josh Allen winning by 7.5.
love it.
I just feel like he's gonna come out on fire, play one of the best games of his career,
Yeah.
keep doing what he's doing, and just completely outclass the Denver Broncos because of the rest versus rust theory.
Whatever Josh Allen's rushing number is for people who partake in things like that, which is not me because we obviously would never do anything like that. But for those people, whatever that number is, it's too low. Josh Allen's rushing yards total is going to be high. In fact, this is a game where I think both quarterbacks' rushing numbers could be over the number that they have forecast for them. God, that talking around and double talk is hard for me. But ultimately, and a Josh Allen rushing touchdown seems like a foregone conclusion as well. So I love his stats in this game.
I think it'll be big, and I think this, like, when I think about Denver, they have a great defense. I think about Houston, they have a great defense, New England, and when you have a really good defense, you're a good tackling team, you're probably structurally sound, right? And Denver runs a lot of zone, and Houston runs a lot of the same zone, right? What beats that is a quarterback's legs. A quarterback's legs can go outside of the structure and the system of your defense. The guy that is supposed to make that tackle, if he doesn't make it, the next guy won't be there for 14 yards. So some of those real dynamic runners at quarterback can really mess up your numbers, right? And that's why you see Mahomes have all these like infamous scrambles in huge games. And I remember when, you know, Josh Allen beat the Chiefs in the regular season last year. He did it on a 4th down, and he went and it was his legs. So those are the moments where you're like, wow, this guy beat the whole team, but really everyone else is doing their job. It's just that one person that's got to make him tackle him couldn't because that guy's a special athlete. So I think his legs will be definitely a huge factor of kind of disarming a really structured defense. And Drake May's gonna have to do some of that. And Drake Ray rushed pretty well against the Chargers because things are covered up. You got to take what's there, and sometimes that's what's going to be there.
Yeah, I mean, both of those quarterbacks rushing were pretty epic in the Chargers and the Patriots. So I love it. All right, we'll be back here next week for the championship week. We're almost there. I see. This is why I say that the wild card weekend's slightly better because there were 6 games. I'm only 4.
It
Just
was a
I'm
great
ready.
wild card weekend. I will give you credit. I said some of the teams don't have no business being there, maybe except for the Steelers game. Everything else was phenomenal, as
It
good as
was
a
a great
wild
weekend of
card
games.
as I've seen it. So that was a great weekend. Let's see what the divisional can do. But you're just a game when you're in the division, you could smell the AFC Championship game. You could smell the NFC Championship. Then you're the only 2 games on TV, right? So to me, you could just taste it. Your crowd can taste it, and then the Super Bowl seems like a reality once you get past this week. So this is just as a player, you know how close you start to feel. You start to see the light at the end of the tunnel a little bit.
Well, in your world, we'd have 2 in-season division, repeats, right? You have the Patriots and the Bills matching up, and then the Rams and the Seahawks. Yeah, Rams and Seahawks. That would be interesting too. I have the Broncos, so that would be the only difference
Yeah.
between us. So,
Look, last week, the Bears screwed me up. That was my only one. I was money on every other game. I had people go Jags to the Super Bowl. Absolutely not happening. And this and that. And I think the Chargers gonna knock off the Patriots. Not gonna be close. Right. And a lot of stuff played out. What about the Niners over the Eagles? I got called crazy on CBS for that one.
I was
Oh
about
no,
to
what are
say,
you
I
talking
never
about?
called you crazy for that. I
No,
had a
it's my
1-point win
CBS
for the Eagles.
colleagues, calling me crazy. So my bracket was on the money until Caleb Williams did some special stuff, right? But the Packers have some decisions to make over there and whatnot. I'm pro LaFleur. But look, let's see if I can keep it going. Right now, it's a hot start, but
Hot start, you got it.
I'm not playing in them. I have no money on the game, so we'll see.
We're not allowed to. Anyways, well,
No.
have a great weekend. We'll watch you on CBS. By the way, where can people watch you this weekend? Because it's a little different than normal, huh?
Yeah, man, I'll be breaking these games down for CBS. You can catch me on CBS Today Show Plus, streaming, whatever. You're gonna see me all over CBS. My brother Matt Ryan had to go take a job, so they called another Ryan in, and I'm gonna hold it down for the Ryans in the
Perfect.
chair
Perfect.
and
They
do
only
what I
had to
gotta
change
do.
out the first name in the graphics,
That
Loved out.
that's it, man.
Easy.
That's it.
Anyways.
Little melanin difference. He's a couple inches taller, and we're good.
Whatever. Same. Pretty much the same. Anyway, have a great weekend. I'll see you back here. We will all see you back here. Remember to subscribe so you never miss it. Thank you for dealing with my jury duty lateness. Couldn't be, out here with some sort of warrant for my arrest. That would be
Nah, we didn't want
that,
that.
that wouldn't be good. Anyway, so I appreciate you, and we'll see you back here for championship weekend. Woo!